one, you're saying you are something, and one, you're
Yeah.
saying you have something, which means it's
Exactly.
changeable. When you are
Yeah.
something, it's a statement of something that never can be changed.
That's it, man. And let go is the key. It's like surrendering to life. Like saying, look, there's something bigger than me out there. Like me is the one that's controlling and that wants these things to not be like this. But the situation is this. Look, I have to just surrender to life.
When we add titles or we add things, we are causing restriction, and then
Yeah.
it causes conflict when
Yeah.
things change in life, and things are always changing in life. Welcome to the Stronger, Fitter, Happier podcast. I'm your host Vin, and today I am joined by Raj Gorsia. So you are someone I know very little about, so it will be good to learn a bit more about you on this episode, and everyone who's listening can learn a bit more about you. But you have a slogan on Instagram that I really, really like, and it is inner calm for outer win. So
Yes.
let's start with that. Like, who are you? Where have you come from? Just tell us a bit about how you've got to where you are now.
Yeah, well, let's start with inner calm for outer win. Yeah, like you said. So what I believe in is that really everyone just wants to get to this place of being okay within themselves, right? And whether that means like your work, your body, whatever, we're chasing this feeling just to feel okay. So where I've come from is I had a lot of challenges with my mind, like growing up. And you know why I like the kind of stuff you guys are doing? Because I was very much into bodybuilding, like a lot of men, I guess, and females. I was into bodybuilding and I thought, yeah, this is going to be the thing that's going to make me feel good about myself, right? Let me get these big muscles. So I got these big muscles and it was great. It was fun lifting heavy weights, getting into fitness, like even running and all of that performance type stuff. So it was like a hobby for a while. And then one day I walk into this yoga class just because this girl was like, oh, come to this yoga class. And I was like, okay, cool. She's a pretty girl. Let me go along. Why not? So I go to this yoga class and man, I feel like that was a shift because I started getting into like the inner world and really understanding what calm meant. So I got into meditation. I got into yoga. I was the only guy in the class, actually. And yeah, I just got into this other side of looking at the world and looking at like, what do we as humans want? How do I get to this place where I actually feel calm? Not like chasing all of these muscles and money and all of that kind of stuff. Like, what do I do to actually really get calm? I started figuring it out. I started experimenting on myself, like with foods, still with the fitness and the movement, but combining that with like yoga, meditation, reading tons of books, all sorts of things. And I basically got to this place where I just understood myself in such a profound way. I knew everything that like every part of how I worked. And then I went traveling for a while, and we can talk about that if you want as well. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
no, I definitely want to speak about that.
Yeah, I went traveling for a while, and then I came back because I was like, you know what, I've got to share this with people, man. I can't just keep this within myself because it just felt like it was coming out of me. Like all these things I was learning, it was oozing out of me. I was like, I have to share this with people and just be a person that can help other people find this for themselves, right? How to get calm, how to slow down, how to know themselves. So I decided to become a coach. So initially I was like, yeah, maybe I can be a personal trainer like you guys because I really like this kind of stuff. But then I was like, I also like the like mind stuff as well.
Yeah.
So I realized being a coach is kind of like a holistic way of looking at things, a way of getting people focused on the inside, but then they can achieve whatever they want on the outside from there, basically. So that's the kind of overview. And my background's in IT, actually. So I probably should have mentioned that. A very logically analytical person growing up. That's why I was so challenged with overthinking. So it's almost as if I've gone to the other side, which is more creative and like understanding the being mode, let's say.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure you had things that doubts, I guess, when you first went into this, thinking, you're quite young. And I believe you're just a little bit older than I am.
Yeah.
And, you know, I had insecurities when I first started personal training and stuff.
Yeah.
That everyone I'm helping is a lot older than me, and they're going to think that, how the hell can you help me? Now, I've heard on a video that you did have some insecurities. Like, so tell me about those. Like, what doubts came to your head and how did you overcome those?
Yeah. Do you mean like in terms of coaching, or do you mean just in general before?
No, just in terms of coaching. So, you know, you said you felt like you wanted to help other people with your journey. Just like, I guess, similar things to what you've achieved in yourself and feeling that calmness.
Yeah.
Did you feel like, I'm not the one to be helping these people? I can't be doing this. Who am I, kind of thing?
Yeah. I definitely had that, man. I had imposter syndrome, they call it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had that imposter syndrome of like, who am I? Like, how can I tell someone that I can help them with their entire life? Like, that's a big ask. So I had a lot of doubts and fears, man. But what it took was me just practicing, like even for free at the beginning. I was just dishing it out for everyone I could, taking people through the process, proving that it works, proving that I can help people, building my confidence as well. But yeah, I had loads of doubts, man. I was like, how can I do this? Who am I to like bring someone to peace? Like, that's a big ask. So yeah, it just took a bit of practice and building my confidence up as well.
So I like that you answered with, you know, practice as opposed to like just going for it or something like that, because it's, you know, when you get into like life coaching or anything like that, almost you get this stigma attached to you that you're some airy fairy person who's like either trying to con people. It's unfortunate, it's just got that kind of brand, or you're just someone who's a bit wishy-washy and just kind of like is not really in tune with what most people's realities are like, because you've got a very different life, and it can be very difficult to kind of not kind of come away from that attachment or that stigma. But as I even like, you know, automatically think of life coaches as like, oh, like, I don't know, like that almost that kind of thing as well. But when I started listening to your videos, I very quickly realized, like, it's just things you're saying is you're talking from experience, one, which is really good because you're not like kind of sitting on a high pedestal telling people how to live their life. Exactly. You're talking about what's worked for you, what you've encountered, what you've experienced. And then the other way is it's very practical, genuine stuff. It's nothing... You know, like, for example, the other day we were talking about social media and posting and getting like a gratification from it. Yeah. And you spoke about why you used to post pictures of you on holiday. Yeah. Because you wanted people to see like, oh, look at this guy doing all this nice stuff and things like that. And then you had to kind of check yourself. And it's really nice to hear someone talking like that, because a lot of the time people just follow what other people are doing and carry on and are afraid to break that mold of, you know, doing what everybody else is doing. And it's nice to see that you're just living your life and living what's true to you and what your values are.
Yeah, and you know, that's really what I represent. With all this work I'm doing, I'm helping people to find the best part of themselves, right? I've been on my journey to find the best part of myself, and most of that is removing all of the noise that we have around us and the things we believe. So everyone has their own unique qualities that they just maybe don't know yet. It's just there somewhere. It's there hidden underneath all of the things that we have in our mind, right? So I'm really helping them to find that, almost like a well of greatness that they have already. It's already there. They just haven't been able to mine that well, let's say.
So if someone comes to you and it says, like, you know, I'm really stressed out at the moment, like, what's a typical person who comes to you in terms of like, what are their problems?
Generally, like, it's funny you say that, actually, because it'll generally be different types of people. So entrepreneurs, someone who's starting a business. Sometimes it's just someone who's just trying to figure out where to take their life. Sometimes it's someone who is just constantly stressed. But the theme across everyone is that there is the mind that's in the way from them getting to where they want. So doubts, fears, unsure of what to do next, unsure of themselves. So in general, there will just be this, just this fog around, which is generally coming from like the subconscious fears and things like that, right?
Yeah. And what's like one of the first things that you would do to start helping someone like that? I know obviously it's very difficult because there's a process to it, but as in what's one of the first initial things that someone could start doing quickly? Maybe not quickly, sorry, it's probably wrong choice of word, but to start building some traction.
Yeah, so in general, I say to people, because most people are like, I want to get away from this. This is a problem. And they're like stuck in that world, right, of the mind. They're consumed by it. So usually I'll say to someone, okay, imagine 3 years' time. Then I call you up and I say, what's happening with your life in 3 years? And if everything went exactly the way you want it to be, what would you be telling me at that point? You'll be saying, oh my God, Raj, this is where I am. And that's how I'll get them to start. I'll be like, say, oh my God, Raj, what's happening in 3 years? And they're almost hypnotizing themselves. They're almost getting into that state of, okay, I've got a vision now. I'm there now. Not I want it. I'm there now. And I'm going to tell you what it looks like. And in general, they'll say, well, Raj, I'm much more okay with myself. I know where I am. Maybe some people will say, I've got my business working. I've got this happening. And then I'll say to them, okay, let that sink in. Like, how does that feel just to actually go there? You thought this was impossible. You were stuck in all of the impossible. But how does it feel just to go there? And you notice like the whole body starts changing, right? The body's changing. The way they're looking is changing. And then we'll go from there. We'll start taking it from there, basically.
So like building almost like a roadmap of how to get there?
Well, I think that comes afterwards. The key for me is getting them to have that internal shift, the perspective shift of it's possible, firstly. And I can feel that it's possible. I feel it in my body. And then it's like, okay, now I've got this buildup of courage and this buildup of just like life energy, you can call it. And I've got this awareness of something bigger than what I'm seeing now. Anything's possible from there, man. It's like the creative juices are flowing. And then I'll say, okay, how can we start working towards that? What can be one small step? Like I always say, like the tiniest step that you can take in the next week that will move you towards that. And I really keep it present focused. So there's no overwhelm of, okay, I want to create this thing in 3 years. Wow, that seems scary. It's like, let's just make that into a tiny step. And I guess you guys could probably relate to that as well in the work you guys do, right?
Exactly how we work. When someone new comes to us, we'll literally start with what would make you feel happier in 90 days time. Like, how would you like to look? How would you like to feel? How would you like to... And then we don't stay on that. The biggest thing for us is why. Because they may have the wrong reasons for why they're doing it, and that's blocking them. So often a lot of people will say things like, I want to lose weight. And their immediate why might be because I just want to look good. Like, why wouldn't you want to lose weight? And then we're like, well, you know, everyone has different reasons. Like, what's your deeper reason for losing weight? And often it's not about the weight loss. It's about the feeling the weight loss will give them. So the feeling of confidence, for example, or the feeling of feeling secure in their own skin, or being able to like do things without restrictions, or that sort of thing. So they're not typically searching for weight loss. They're almost searching for freedom, like the freedom to live life on their own terms without, you know, like ailments and things like that. And that you can achieve more or less immediately. And I know that seems like, oh, like, can you? Like, but yeah, you can. Like, if you let go of certain things, like you're putting yourself into almost like a hole of like, I'm not allowed to wear these clothes and feel good in them because I'm overweight. Well, that's what society tells you, but you are allowed to feel good in your own skin. And I get that, you know, you might feel better when you lose weight because you're able to, I don't know, not have to pull your shirt down or worry about is your tummy feeling too tight on that dress or whatever. I get all of that. Like, I feel the same way when I'm a little bit leaner. I feel much better about myself than when a t-shirt is really tight around my tummy.
Yeah.
And that's not a society thing. That's just me thing. But at the same time, I could wear a slightly larger t-shirt and feel good at that exact moment, and then progress to getting to the point that I'm leaner. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Same way that like someone can start feeling immediately good after a workout, even though they're not quite ready at their state, or they feel good from progressing. Like, you know, I'm starting to take fitness seriously, whereas a week ago it wasn't even on my radar. I didn't even think about going to the gym, and now I'm actually going 3 times a week, and that's the win. And you celebrate that, and you start feeling happy about becoming fitter rather than once I get fitter, I will be happy.
Exactly. And that's powerful. That's powerful because they're feeling the what would happen and what it would give them, and then their actual body starts going there, right? Then they get the energy to want to do it, to show up to your sessions, and then it just keeps on going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people forget that there's no almost end destination. So sometimes people feel like, oh, like once I achieve this business goal, my life is going to be great. Or once I do that, and I get that, you know, some things like not having enough money is a really big barrier in life. And I get, but it's not money that's not going to make you happy, that having that in your bank account. It's almost what that unlocks in your life, what it gives you the freedom to do. You know, you haven't got restrictions or worries of money anymore. That's what's going to make you happy. So this is why understanding your why rather than the what is almost more important. Exactly.
No, you're right. And that's it. That's what people are sometimes missing, because they think that this thing is going to give me what I want. And I for sure felt that myself many times. Like if I go and travel the world, I'm going to get what I want. I'm going to find that inner peace. If I go and have this amazing body, I'm going to have inner peace. If I get these amazing career opportunities, whatever, right? But I realize now that's just part of the game that we're playing. But the real us is the one that's living that game, right?
Yeah. Do you know what? It kind of reminds me of something you said. I watched a video of yours, and it was about like the body being a tool. Well, you even actually went further, and your business is a tool. It's not your identity. It's not you. And this is something I've really struggled with back in the day. Like my business was me. Like Body and Beyond and me were not two different things.
Right. Yeah.
And it was very difficult for me when, especially when the pandemic just hit, and I wasn't, you know, a personal trainer who was going to the gym and training people anymore, and I was something different. It's happened at different stages of my life, especially when my first child was born. I found because there's a big identity shift, isn't it? I wasn't an entrepreneur who could just go out every day, work long hours and hustle. I was now a dad who needed to be a bit more present. And because I knew that I didn't want to be someone who wasn't around. So, yeah, it was a bit of a struggle. But that's one thing that made me realize that, you know, I have to separate myself from things I do rather than putting them as my titles. So
exactly,
what was it that, you know, when you say like the body's not a tool, what do you mean by that? The body's just a tool. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. So what I mean by that is, like, for example, I took the body as meaning if I have this great body, then that means I am a great person. It means I am full inside. It means I am complete. I have what I want. But I got it, right? I had a great body, and it just never ended though, because that's the thing, it never ends. When does it become like a perfect body? I don't think that exists. No matter what you look like, you see bodybuilders all the time, they're like continuing to do it because there's no end to it. And I realized at one point, I was like, when does this end? I'm fed up of this. I put it on a pedestal. So that's what it was. I put it on a pedestal where I forgot about the rest of everything meaning something as well, right? So when I say the body's a tool, I think of it almost like you had a drill, right? Your drill is going to allow you to drill stuff into the wall and hang up your whatever you want to hang up, right? Your drill is not actually you. And the same, like we have our arms are allowing us to pick stuff up and eat our cereal, whatever, but we are not the arm, right?
Yeah.
It's something that can help us. So when I think of the body as a tool now, I think of it as this machine that allows me to slow myself down, calm myself down whenever I want, and it allows me to energize myself whenever I want. And I use it for those purposes to create states, I guess.
I love that answer. It's
Yeah.
It's something I wish a lot of people kind of understood a bit more. Especially when it comes to not just the body, but just everything that they have in life. Like, I feel titles add limitations as opposed to giving you freedom. And I think most people's human purpose is to almost find liberation and freedom. Like, we're searching for it constantly. We're trying to evolve into the next stage. We're just trying to constantly find that liberation.
Exactly.
But when we add titles or we add things, we are causing restriction, and then it causes conflict when things change in life, and things are always changing in life. So we need to be a bit more flexible to live more freely. But by adding these titles like I'm a businessman or, I'm a bodybuilder. Yeah. And you tie yourself to these physical things, you cause a lot of restriction and friction in your life that then causes you to feel unhappy and feel stressed.
Yeah, exactly.
And feel things like that.
Yeah, like even when people say to me about coaching, I don't even use the title sometimes because it's just like, because it mixes you in with what like a life coach typically looks like, kind of like what you mentioned as well, right? A life coach or a mentor or this or that. Like, I just tell people, hey, if they say, what do you do? I'll tell them a story of how it's worked for someone else or how I work personally, right? I just help people to get some kind of result, whatever that is. And I don't put myself on this like, oh, I'm a coach, so I've got everything figured out kind of thing. It's just that I've been on that journey and I've done this stuff. I'm not going to tell anyone else how they should live their life. It's almost like, and the way actually I think of it is more of a kind of spiritual process, even though I don't like to use that word too much because that gets mixed up with another kind of group, another kind of group. But I kind of think of it like as just personal development and becoming your best. And I don't stick to the title. Sometimes I'm teaching things. Sometimes I'm a mentor. Sometimes I'm a coach. And it just keeps me flexible. Because if I say I'm a coach and this is exactly what I do and that's it, like you said, it's restrictive. Yeah.
And then with that restriction, you almost become that person and you keep yourself limited. Because it's the same way when people say things like, I am fat. Yeah. And I always tell people, you're not fat. Even if they are like grossly overweight. And that, I mean that as a medical term, not a subjective term. So if someone is like, by the medical term, grossly overweight and obese and, it's very difficult to argue that they're not fat. But they're not fat. They have body fat. And there's two very big different things between that. And I think a lot of people go, oh, that's a very subtle, like, what's the difference? But one, you're saying you are something, and one, you're saying you have something, which means it's changeable. When you are something, it's a statement of something that never can be changed.
Yeah, that's such a big point, man. And we both agree on this as well. Like when people say to me, I am anxious, for example, it's like just like you said, it's a noun. It's like I'm table. It doesn't make sense. Like we can't be nouns because we're forever changing. Our bodies are changing. Everything's changing. So if we label ourselves as I am fat, that's like you said, saying this is a fixed thing. And it becomes an emotional thing like, okay, I am fat. Now this means this, I am wrong. Something's wrong with me. But if you say, like you said, I have fat, okay, I can do something with that now because it's like I have a cut on my arm that can change, right?
Yeah, I think it gives someone control. That's all.
Exactly.
Because you feel powerless often when you're in these states of like, for example, when you're trying to achieve something and you just feel so far away from it and you're doing that visualization thing and making someone feel like you're putting someone in control.
Exactly.
And it's such an important thing to realize that you have control of your life, but when you're so far away from it, it feels like you don't. It feels like you're in a position where you can't change. Your back's up against the wall, and I understand some people have a lot more control over their life.
Yeah.
For example, like me and you, we work for ourselves.
Yeah.
We have a lot more control of our day. So it's easy to talk like this, but at one point we probably didn't.
Exactly.
And we've got to that point by taking control, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I think it's like taking ownership and responsibility. Like, hey, I can do this, instead of being in that mode of like, I'm just like you said, I'm powerless, because that doesn't help anyone get anywhere, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what is something, you said you went traveling and things like that. Like, why did you go traveling in the first place? And what's something that you picked up from traveling? Like, because everyone goes, well, not everyone goes, but everyone dreams of going. Some people end up going. And then some people really, it does transform them. It changes who they are because of the experiences they feel. Like, what was it that you got from it?
Yeah, so I went because, I don't know, man, I had this thing inside me for a while. In my 20s, I saw people on YouTube, and I saw like random friends going from university, and I was just jealous. I was like, but I can't do this because I'm this guy who's like not confident. I have this label on myself, right? I'm this guy who's not confident. I can't do this. Let me just watch everyone else and get jealous. But then eventually, like after a few years of constantly looking at other people and like not feeling fulfilled in my life, I was like, okay, I'm just going to take a break from work and then come back afterwards. I said, I'll just leave. I said, I'll quit and then find a job after about 3 months. That 3 months ended up turning into like nearly 2 years, man, because it just carried on. I came back and then I was like, okay, I got some money left. Let me go to the other side of the world. Why not? If I find a job now, then I'm going to be stuck, I kind of said. So let me just carry on. So I think why I went was just to explore the world, but really I didn't know at the time. I was exploring myself. I was just exploring like what it's like to do something like that, right? And out of my comfort zone, something crazy, something that I don't know what to expect. That's what it felt like. But yeah, I explored myself a lot, man. Like, for example, the thing I took back that the world is actually a lot friendlier than we think, man.
Yeah.
And that, I didn't believe that before. Like, people are so much friendlier. Life is much more easier than we think. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying it's easier than our minds tell us. So the biggest thing I took back was that everything's possible if you just start with something small, really.
That's an incredible statement to make, that life is easier than you think. Why do you say that?
Yeah. Why do I say that? So I was in some crazy places, man. I was in the favelas in Rio. I was hopping from island to island with just my backpack, right? And I didn't think I can do that. I was just thinking, who does this kind of stuff? Like, how does this even work? How would you even plan a trip like that? But when I was out there, it just seemed to work out because I let go of the control. I let go of needing to know everything. I was just kind of taking actions one by one and just doing things. And then I figured out that there's so many people out there to help as well. And I connected more with like my own ability to help myself. Like we said earlier, that ownership mindset, owning whatever comes up. I lost my passport out there, man. And that was crazy. Yeah. We could talk about that in a minute, but yeah, I lost my passport out there. Loads of crazy things happened, man. I was in the Amazon jungle. And all of that happened because I created it. I made that happen, right? I could have just said, I'm going to go for 3 months and that's a safe plan, and then come back and be fine. I could have just said, I'm going to go for 3 months and just stay in like really safe areas. I didn't do that either. So I think when I say life is easier than we think, I think it's just this knowing that most of the barriers are in our mind. It's just the mind that gets in the way. If we can move past that, then whatever you want, you can make, really.
I kind of get what you mean when you're saying things like it's the mind is the biggest barrier, because I guess everyone can perceive situations very differently. So for example, losing your passport can be a very difficult situation to someone. It could also be a very carefree situation for someone else. How did you experience that?
Man, I was actually crying, man. I was in tears, man, because it happened at nighttime. I had come off this bus, and to cut the long story short, I couldn't find it after. Even if I ran around the whole town looking for it, I couldn't find it. And I had to, I lost my camera in there. I lost some money, all sorts of stuff, right? I had my phone, luckily, but I lost all my cards, everything, man. And I was out in Peru in the middle of nowhere. So I was in tears, man. I was like, what have I done? I just was like hating myself and thinking I'm an idiot. Like, what kind of person does this? I was in the police station and they were like, what happened? And I just burst into tears, man. I was like, I don't even know how to explain this to them. So it was hard, man. And even for the week afterwards, I was just like head down, ashamed of myself, completely ashamed, man. And basically they said to me, you can fly home on an emergency passport in the next, whenever you want in the next few days, or you can order a new passport and get that sent out, but that would take 6 weeks. And then I was like, I don't really want to go home, man. Like, so I just stood it out for 6 weeks. And that was the best 6 weeks of my life, because I learned Spanish. I was just out there, just taking it easy. I was traveling. I had no stress. So it was a gift. Like now I look at it, it was the biggest gift, because that learning the Spanish helped me so much during my trip. Slowing down helped me so much. And I even went to the gym, man, in that time. So I got so many things done. I was living a normal life, basically. I slowed down. So it was tough, but I turned it around, basically. I changed my perspective on it.
Sure, I love that story of like, it's like you flipped the switch almost and started to appreciate the situation you were in, as opposed to seeing it as like something that is a negative thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think you could do that with most things in life. Like if you look for the gifts.
Yeah.
If you look for things to appreciate, look for the points to be grateful for. Yeah. And I've noticed it as well. Like I've started like for the last 107 days, I've been doing this gratitude journal. Yeah. Something I used to do a long time ago, then kind of fell off, and then got back into it with the whole everything that's going on in the world. Yeah. And trying to just calm myself. And it's definitely worked. There's days where you feel like the day was just an absolute nightmare. It was a stressful day. Nothing got done how you planned on getting it done, which is what caused the stress, by the way. Yeah. Not necessarily the actual day was stressful, but because it didn't go to how I wanted it to go. Yeah. I perceived it as it was a very stressful day. But then when you get to the end of the day and I'm like, I didn't do the gratitude journal in the morning. Let me just do it now. I'll do it in the evening. And then the first 3 questions the journal asks is, what are 3 things you're grateful for? Yeah. And then you automatically think about, what are you grateful for? What happened today? What is it that you appreciated? So on and so forth. Or what is it that you just appreciate in life? Yeah, exactly. And it very quickly takes your mind away from your stressful day to being almost lifted, a bit lighter, feeling a bit happier, because you're focusing on what you actually have to be grateful for.
Yeah, that's such a good point, man. Like, that's a massive point, because like you said, it's expectation that creates the stress. I expected myself to do this and I pressured myself and I didn't do it. So I got to whip myself for it, mentally whip myself. But when you get out of that and step into like what you're grateful for now, you realize everyone has something to be grateful for. And that means you step into more of like you can call it heart or whatever. You feel your heart. Like, look, I have a family, or I have this, I have that. Like, everything's okay right now. Yeah. And it gets you out of the head.
I think a lot of people, different people, like kind of are saying the same thing, who are helping people live happier lives. Like like what you're saying, there's a guy I follow called Paul Mort who helped me very early on in my career with marketing and things like that. Yeah. And now he's kind of turned into this coach and things as well. And he talks about his description of anxiety almost is when you're fighting reality. So you only feel stressed out when you're fighting against reality. So what is actually present and happening, you don't want it to happen, or it's not something that you want, so you're fighting against it. It's like
Exactly.
when the pandemic hit, I was exactly like that.
Yeah.
This is not supposed to happen right now. We were
Yeah.
doing really well,
Yeah.
and you closed the gyms, you did
Yeah.
all this, and you've put and then I realized, like, what can I do? Like,
Yeah.
this is what you have to adapt. You just have to roll with it. And then it was a lot less stressful as soon as
Yeah.
I let go and just kind of went with
Yeah.
it.
That's it, man. And let go is the key. It's like surrendering to life. Like saying, look, there's something bigger than me out there. Like me is the one that's controlling and that wants these things to not be like this. But the situation is this. Look, I have to just surrender to life and almost just go with it. Like almost if you are in the sea and you're fighting against the current, just let it take you away and you stop feeling that pain, right?
Yeah, there's a really good analogy for that. It's like I can't remember who wrote it, but it was I think it's Dax Moy, someone who he wrote. I think he wrote it himself anyway. But it was like I think it's something like a foolish man tries to fight against like a rapid current when they're drowning and they tread water and then they end up drowning.
Yeah.
And then I think there's another point of like someone else who is wise and who is like sensible will not fight against the water. They will completely relax and go with the flow of the water, the rapid, the aggressive water until that water calms, because that's always what happens in rivers and things like that. So when the river calms, they then walk away and they get off onto the bed and then they live peacefully. And I always remind myself of that. Like when there's turbulent times, try not to panic. Try to relax, try to surrender, try to just ease into it, go with it. Control what you can, don't try and control the uncontrollables. And it often, most of the time, works and it really helps you just, find a bit more peace in a situation.
That's exactly it, man. Like if that's literally one of the things that I'd sum up in terms of like how I'm working with someone is it's almost like if you think of judo, where they're using the other person's weight to have leverage, right? So I'm just trying to help people leverage the things that are around them. Look, life is going this way. Let's go with it. Let's go with what's actually happening and make this thing work. Instead of you trying to wrestle with your mind, because that doesn't work, man. Like everyone's tried this, right? Everyone tries wrestling with their mind. It just doesn't work. You just have to go with what you have in the moment and then plan towards where you want to go and then just start taking steps.
Yeah.
And it will happen.
So I absolutely get that. It's a great way to help people find peace and calm.
Yeah.
But one thing that we as humans obviously want is we want. Like we want to, we want something. We have like a project or a purpose or a passion we're trying to chase after.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people who tell you, if you want to be truly happy, find your purpose.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Like, and do you agree with that statement? And if you do, how does someone find their purpose?
Yeah, this is an interesting one, man, because I've played with both sides of this. So purpose can be overwhelming, I find, for most people. It's like, okay, I've got to figure out this purpose of why I'm here on this earth. Like, that's a big ask to find. And most people get so frightened by that prospect that they just don't do anything. So what I think, the way I try to approach it is, what are the things that you value? Like, what do you value in life? And what is something that would be fun to create without it meaning like, okay, this is going to determine who you are. What would be fun? You are the person who's in this calm state, but what do you want to create from that? So let's say you want to create a thriving business and you want to get to this place. Okay, that's where we want to get to. So that's your purpose right now. Let's start from the present. Let's start working towards that, taking steps, building it up. But if it gets to this point of I have to figure out if my purpose is to be I don't know, something specific like a nurse or something like that, right? I don't know if I agree with that. That just doesn't suit my way of working because it just feels too rigid. I think things can be very flexible. Like now you're a personal trainer and you have this business, you can shift what you're doing in any direction. But would you have figured that out right from the beginning? who knows? It might have overwhelmed you, right?
I mean, I struggled with that myself. Like, I called myself a personal trainer, and then, you know, that's all you can be.
Yeah.
Whereas now I don't look at myself like that. I identified, like you said, your values. Like, what is it that you value? And then what is your passion? Like, you know, you said about what do you find enjoyment in? And I kind of look at that as like passion. Like, what do you find?
Passion.
What do you, So with the core values of like what I value in life and my enjoyment and my passion almost, I married the two together to find my purpose. And I've realized myself, it's just to help people feel happier and just feel freer. Like, because I was on a journey to find freedom and once it was initially financial freedom and things like that. Like, and then slowly I've realized like it's just a case of finding freedom in all areas of your life and letting go. And when I've done that, I've become happier, and I want to see a world full of freer and happier people. That doesn't mean like people who don't go to work and are financially secure. I don't mean like that. I just mean in their mind they're just feeling freer. In their day-to-day they're feeling happier. And that's our and we've identified how we're going to do that through our core values, through our mission, you know, helping people become stronger, fitter and happier. And now I realize that I can do that anyway. Today it could be through a podcast. Tomorrow it could be through playing with my children, because I'm helping them learn how to be freer and happier, and eventually they'll probably teach their children. So I'm still living my purpose, because I'm not doing it through, it doesn't have to be on this big global scale. It can be through one person. Even if just like one person listens to this podcast and finds something of value that you've said, we've done it again. Do you see what I mean? So now I've realized there's no restrictions. And if I live within my purpose, I'll find happiness. And if I'm continuing on that path, then I'll also probably find ways of, you know, doing things like, I get, you know, in this world of capitalism, we need money to do things that we want and things like that. Like going on holiday costs some money to get on that plane. Whether you want to sit in economy or first class, you still need something.
Exactly.
So I get that, like, but I also understand that if I'm doing what I'm happy with, passionate about, I usually will find that kind of financially as well, and so on and so forth.
I think that's it, man. Like, for me, I prefer the word direction, because we all have this inner compass within us that kind of is pointing somewhere. We just need to know, where is it pointing? Okay, I'm in a ship. I need to direct myself north. Great, let's start going north and see what islands we see on the way, right? That's the way I like to see it. Instead of like, okay, I have to go to this point, and then I'm like, how the hell do I get there? And I'm overwhelmed, you know?
No, I love that. I think there's a lot of things that people can unpack in this episode and take away from them. Is there anything that you would like to add? Or just as a closing statement to anyone who's listening, who's feeling a bit stressful right now? Is there anything you'd like to leave them with?
The thing I say to people, no matter where you want to get to, everyone has goals, like you said. I'm all about goals. I'm not just about, hey, let's go and sit here in Zen mode and be in the present. Like, I don't believe just being in the present is going to serve anyone. So find something to work towards, but then slow down and start from the present, and then start making small steps. Whatever you do, if you're consistently working on it and it's not stressing you out, like with your mind, it's going to happen. It's going to be fun as well. Like, that's the way I like to approach this. I'm not working with someone, they're having fun. It's not like, hey, let's fix these things and it's torture. It's let's just get to where you want to get to. Make sure it's big goals. Reach high, but let's slow it down and come back to the present first.
I love that. If you're not doing that, if you're not having fun, what's the point? You got to enjoy the process, otherwise the destination's not going to be any good.
That's it. And once we get to the destination, we usually want to find a new one, right?
Exactly. We're humans who are constantly trying to find the next thing.
And
but you have to do it with gratitude, otherwise you end up being miserable.
That's it.
All right. Awesome. I love that. And I just want to wrap up now. In terms of where people can find you, where can they find you?
So
sure a lot of people want to know a bit more.
Yeah. So I'd say Instagram is where I mostly am. I'm posting things daily. Right now I'm doing something called Ego Talks. 30 days I'm posting something about how our mind tries to stress us out, all these things we talked about, how the ego works. And I also host weekly webinars on the Insight Timer app, which is a meditation app. I'm a teacher on there. And I'm having weekly events. So if anyone wants to come, it's free. Just come along. It's just a live stream.
Oh, brilliant. All right. I'll put all the links in below. What's your Instagram handle for anyone who's just listening?
Yeah, it's just Raj Gorsia, RAJ and GORSIA.
Okay, perfect. All right.
Awesome.
Guys, you can catch Raj. All the links are below. Just have a look. Let us know your thoughts. Thank you for listening, and I hope you found it useful. Over and out. On to the next episode.